Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this new video. Now, what I'd like to cover in today's video is a topic that is very often overlooked when it comes to advertising online, okay? And that is profitability within your ads, right? And knowing at which level of spend diminishing returns start to kick in, okay? So if you go online today, right, I'll challenge you to find a single video that talks about e-commerce growth, ads, in any platform, and profitability at the same time, okay? If you find one, let me know. I'll be more than happy to check it out. But what you actually notice when you start doing that research online is that it's all about scale, 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 right? And that is when you start educating yourself and start to, watch videos and read articles, etc., etc. However, when you start actually being proactive about scaling your brand and you want to hire a third party, an agency, or service provider, the problem starts to be a little bit more rampant in your business. So what happens is a lot of times the incentive that you will have with this service provider is a revenue share, right? And that's if they're smart operationally, because that's the only way they can extract as much money as possible from you as a brand owner, right? To have that skin in the game, that any performance that comes from them, they take a cut from it. So the more they make you, the more they make, right? However, that comes with a problem because they're incentivized to actually extract as much money as possible from you, right? The only way to do that is by scaling your ad spend to a level that your ROAS, or your marketing efficiency ratio, if you're tracking that, is positive, right? So if you spend 10,000 and they make 40,000, that's a 4x ROAS, and they're taking a cut from that. Right? That comes with two problems. The first one is that they don't look past top line revenue minus ad spend. That is a huge problem because they cannot segment the data further. It's really murky in terms of interpretation of data because there is little to zero consideration given to contribution margin, unit level economics, profitability, and efficiency of your ad dollar. The second problem is that at some point, you will experience diminishing returns with your money, which means that the more you're spending on ads, the less you're actually making, and sometimes you're even losing money. At some point, mathematically speaking, you will be losing money even if your ROAS is actually positive, right? So let's say your break-even is at 1.5. You're seeing a 2x ROAS on Facebook, but you're spending, let's say, $10,000 per day or $5,000 per day or $50,000 per day. And you're wondering why the money in your pocket is not reflecting what's being shown to you on the ad platforms. Well, that's exactly it. It's because your ad dollar is not efficient past a certain threshold, right? And I'll show you visually what that means. And what I'm explaining will start to click in your mind. Now, the main reason why 99% of advertisers or brand owners like yourself don't know at what point they can actually start losing money with their ads, because they don't start by segmenting their newly acquired customer ROAS and their returning customer ROAS, right? Or if you're advertising across different platforms, right? So you want to know exactly the returns of your ad dollars with newly acquired customers versus returning customers, right? Now, when you start doing that analysis, you'll see that your newly acquired ROAS is obviously lower than what's being shown on the ad platforms, right? Now, the smartest advertisers track this, right? But there's a tiny small population of advertisers that go a small step ahead, which is essentially tracking the marginal increase in performance of every single ad dollar that you pour in your ad spend. Okay, so every dollar that you add into your ad spend, you want to know exactly what the impact of that dollar is, right? And that is what we call marginal impact of ad spend. Okay, so let's switch screens. I'll show you exactly what I mean and it'll start to make sense. So guys, welcome back. I created this small table to kind of illustrate my point earlier. Essentially, this is a table that mirrors the performance of a product that has 70% gross margins, a break-even ROAS of approximately 1.5, ad spend increase incrementally, total sales mirrored by basically numbers that you would find on Shopify typically, etc., etc. A ROAS, which we call newly acquired customer ROAS. So this is the ROAS generated by customers that have never purchased from you before. Marginal ad spend increase. So this is essentially the amount you're increasing your ad spend, let's say every single day or every single month or every single week, right? So this is the amount by which you're increasing it. The marginal sales, which are essentially the sales generated by the new, I'd say, increase in ad spend. Okay, so essentially here, if you take a look, we're spending $1,000 per day. We're making $2,500, right? This is a 2.5x, right? The marginal sales here is essentially 2,500 because you're spending 1,000 and you're making 2,500 back. Here you increase the budget by 2,000 and you made 4,800, which means that the marginal sale increase is 4,800 minus the previous 2,500, which was generated by the first $1,000 you spent. Okay, so that equates to 2,300. Okay, and we do this with all of these numbers here, right? And then you can actually see that the marginal ROAS is not 2.5 anymore, it's actually 2.3. Right? And if you compare it with the newly acquired customer ROAS from the entire ad spend, right, which is 2.4, so 4,800 divided by 2,000, you can see that it's slightly higher or different. This is exactly what we want to show, that it's different from the marginal ROAS. Okay? So let's get straight into it. What we want to see here is at which point do the ads start being unprofitable, or increasing the ad spend starts being unprofitable and we're not making any money, we're actually losing money. Right? Well, as you can see here, since your break-even ROAS is 1.5, you want to know at what point increasing the ad spend by 1,000 will take you past this point here, right? And you can see that that point lies here at the $6,000 mark, right? So if you're spending $6,000 and you're generating $12,000, you might think that your newly acquired ROAS is actually 2. Right? And you might be happy, and you might be even happier to increase the spend to get even more scale out of it, right? However, your marginal ROAS shows you that past this point, you're actually losing money, right? You're losing money because every single, I'd say, customer that comes through the increase of ad spend is actually unprofitable. You're spending way more to acquire a customer than you should, and you're not profitable on the first purchase. So you better have some retention marketing on the background, because you're actually losing money, and you'll see it on the back end, right? Let's say you actually are stubborn, right? And you want to get to the $10,000 per month or $10,000 per day in ad spend. Well, you can see here that for each $1,000 that you spend, you're actually only generating $700. So you're losing $300 every single day if that's a daily budget, every single week if that's a weekly budget, and every single month if that's a monthly budget, right? Which obviously is not a good trade-off to have. So knowing the ideal level of spend is paramount to understand, how much you can push the machine, and if it's time to shift to another platform, if it's time to basically, reduce spend or stabilize spend at that level, and then start exploring other options or other acquisition channels. So this is essentially how we mirror this little concept, which is the ideal spend. With these margins, right, and with this break-even ROAS, the ideal spend for this type of product will be $6,000, right? And you can check it here. Everything above this is going to be very profitable, right? Anything below it is going to be very unprofitable, and you're actually losing money here, right? And this is super key in understanding where you're going with your brand, what type of spend you're allocating to each platform, and the efficiency and impact of every ad dollar that you inject past a certain threshold, right? Obviously, this works with $1,000 increments. It can work with any budget that you have that you're working with. It's actually just a matter of knowing your numbers and making sure that you're not overspending or overextending yourself, and having the information so that when a service provider, a agency, or someone in-house that you're hiring, tells you that it's time to scale because ROAS is positive, etc., you can actually push the analysis a little step further by understanding if you increase the spend, what's going to be the impact on my profitability? What's going to be the ideal spend level? Is it going to go beyond my ideal spend level, or am I still, on target? And that's pretty valuable information to have. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope this video served you well. A pretty short one, but a very, very powerful one if you can apply it to all of your ad platforms, or to basically educate your team or any agency or any service provider that is serving you. You want them to know exactly what your ideal spend level is, so that you don't go beyond it, so that you're not killing profitability and actually hurting your business beyond repair. Hope that served you well, and I'll see you on the next one.